Welcome to Offscreen. This week we're reading Bright by Max Landis. In a world where fantasy creatures live alongside humans, a cop and his orc partner stumble upon a magical item so rare everyone in the city comes after them to get it. This is kind of like a fantasy
It's like an action adventure fantasy thing.
crime, set in like police world. Yeah,
Police world.
police world of police. And it's notable because it just sold for $3 million.
Right.
And it was packaged with David Ayer and Will Smith. David Ayer to direct and Will Smith to star, presumably.
Wait, what did David Ayer do?
He wrote Training Day, but he also was, I think, the director of End of Watch.
Okay. This definitely seems to be in his wheelhouse. If
Yeah,
that's the
definitely.
Case.
And so the version of the script that we read was actually rewritten by him. And Max Landis is a really
So hot right now, Max Landis. Not like attractive, but I mean like in Hollywood, just like people are all about him right now.
Yeah, well, especially that it seems like he's very internet famous too, because he's an active participant on the screenwriting forums on Reddit.
Wait, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I mean, not like super active, and he's also written a bunch of movies, several of which have gotten made.
Also looks
Chronicle, Victor Frankenstein, American Ultra.
Yeah. Also, he looks slightly like an elf, I would say.
Is that a compliment or not?
I don't know. This is relevant to this particular script.
Sure.
Just an observation.
He's the son of John Landis, who wrote like the Blues Brothers, and is a huge Hollywood figure.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it's also notable because Netflix has thrown or is going to throw $90 million behind this whole project, and it's going to be like their first tentpole.
Yeah, it's
like
legit.
they have big plans for it. It's not like a prestige film like Beasts of No Nation or like a comedy like the ridiculous whatever the Adam Sandler one was.
Just a blockbuster type.
Yeah,
thing.
exactly. And they outbid a number of other people in getting the screenplay too. So
Nice.
yeah,
Good for them.
this all happened recently too.
Like a month ago or something, right?
I want to say maybe last month.
Cool.
So, you want to hop into the synopsis?
Yeah, sure. Okay. Imagine Los Angeles crossed with the world of Warcraft. Orcs and elves live among us. Magic is real, but still it's regarded with wonder, having been suppressed many ages ago in a war against spellcasters. That's why when LAPD officers Scott and his orc partner Nick find a wand at the scene of a crime, heads start to turn. The house in question belongs to a sort of spellcaster in training called a Bright. This one is a little elven girl named Tika. Scott and Nick take her with them on the run as several other interested parties try to track down the wand and use it for their own personal gain. Chief among them is the witch whose wand it is. When she catches up to our trio, Tika's powers have just begun to show themselves. She helps defeat the witch with her magic, but even then, Scott and Nick still have to fight off some of their own fellow officers. In the end, it's Scott who saves the day, haphazardly waving the wand and shouting a word he'd heard from Tika. When the dust settles, the feds have shown up. Evidence proves that Scott and Nick were the only ones not corrupted by the powerful potential of the wand. They're heralded as heroes in the prophesied Second War, which has just begun against the forces of dark magic. Fortunately, this time, Tika is on their side.
Cool.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
I had to skim over a lot of stuff as usual, because there are just like a ton of different groups in this.
Yeah, a lot of
script
people
that
going for that wand.
Yeah, that all want the wand. And a couple other points I would hit would be that Nick, the orc partner, there's like some racial tension with him.
A lot. He's viewed as a diversity hire for the police department.
Right.
And like everyone wants to get him kicked out.
He's kind of an outcast because, the people in the LAPD don't really like him. But also, there's a gang of orcs that are also after the wand. And they don't like him because they see him as like trying to be better than they are. He's like
view him
working
as
with
like
all these
too
humans.
human.
Yeah.
Like not, he's like betrayed his orc ancestry or whatever, heritage.
Yeah. And all that
culture.
is kind of tied up in,
Yeah, it's complicated because there had previously been an incident where Nick decides, basically Scott gets shot. Nick follows the suspect, but realizes that it isn't the actual guilty party, and so he lets the kid go.
Right. The kid
No,
is an orc
is
also.
is an orc, knowing that just the circumstantial evidence will damn this kid to
Right.
at
He's
best
an
jail.
orc on the scene of a shooting.
Yeah,
Like
he's
the
actually
cops are.
described wearing a black hoodie, so there's traces of
Oh, yeah.
Trayvon in that.
Yeah.
But yeah, he lets him go, but then everyone else in the police department subsequently is suspicious of Nick.
Yeah. So anyway, he's got all that working against him
Hmm.
when they're on the run with this wand.
Cool.
All right. So should we start with the good things?
Yeah.
I really liked the first like half of the script, I think.
Okay.
It sets up everything up really nicely, and it's really fun when you're first introduced to this juxtaposition of, you know, the sort of gritty, realistic LA cop drama stuff set against fantasy elements. Like just the very beginning, the first thing that we see that is Scott. He's at home, and his wife is telling him he needs to kill this fairy that keeps eating out of their bird feeder. And you think, oh, fairy, it's gonna be like nice and magical, but no. He goes outside with a broom and just like beats it to death with a broomstick. He just like whacks it out of the sky.
Right.
Anyway, it's just like that's a really good way to introduce this whole thing. But what do you like?
I like the sense it was really fast paced. They kept introducing more and more elements, while maintaining a sense of kind of mystery about what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't find the payoff to ultimately be that great, but there was like a sense of wonder that was continually growing, I think,
Like
throughout much of the screenplay.
I was trying to say that in the summary too, about how even though you have all these fantasy elements, I think it was really smart of them to still preserve magic as something that is kind of mysterious and wonderful, even to these people in this world.
It's still amazing, and it's like it's old, and
Yeah.
no one really knows how to contain it or control it, or even if it really exists. Like there's one other wand, right? And it's held in the Smithsonian.
Right.
So you know, like when the wand's introduced, it's kind of a big,
Yeah.
which it's kind of cool, right?
Yeah, yeah. I like that
Like
a lot.
it kind of organically sets up the importance of that
It kind of
thing.
and it kind of avoids the thing that I usually really hate about. It's mostly I see this in sci-fi movies where they're trying to introduce some kind of weird technology or something that is actually not real, but they want to incorporate into the world of the story, and they don't want to be expositional about it. They'll have the characters talk so like nonchalantly or like matter-of-factly about whatever this amazing thing is, just so that you as the viewer are supposed to be like, oh, wow. They're like so used to it.
Yeah.
It feels so real, like it's just a part of their world. And that drives me absolutely
You know what's a
crazy.
really
I
big
hate that.
offender
What?
in of that? The Thor movies, where they'll just say like, it'll be like 13 words of like the craziest sounding shit.
And they just drop
That just means like something that like some godlike thing or transportation device or whatever that no idea what it means, but they just use so many big words next to each other that it sounds.
And they're trying to be so cash about it.
Yeah, soup's cash.
Yeah.
But it works because Thor's hilarious. First movie is great. It's so
Really?
funny. Well, it's fine, but it's really funny. Yeah, I like that. I liked also how, I mean, I guess this could be like to the detriment, but Scott was like a pretty good guy throughout. He's like doing the right thing over and over, which is pretty interesting, but not in like that could be like boring or like a really one-note character, but you see like the internal conflict and the difficulty that it's causing him.
Yeah.
He easily could have aligned himself with the other cops, shot his partner, and
Just taking that
wand and then
done whatever
just
they
been
wanted
like,
with it.
hey wand, let's get me $10 million.
Yeah, I mean, the most decisive moment, I think, for Scott and for maybe the whole script is when he decides to kill his fellow officers
Right.
and save his partner and go on the run with this wand. That is really what launches the second act, and that's the whole main tension of the script.
Yeah.
That point was like really powerful to me and really crazy because that whole backstory that we were talking about, how Nick, his partner, let that one orc kid get away. He finally like tells the whole truth of that to Scott right at that same time, right? That's like in the same moment at the end of Act 1, which is weird because I was like, that, usually that kind of thing would happen much later in a script. So I just figured, okay, he's probably going to die. Because what other point can Nick...
Yeah.
What other purpose can his character serve? He's finally, like, confessed the whole secret he had about that flashback. But then, turns out, no, Scott shoots all the other dudes, and the two of them go on the run, and he does have a purpose. So that was, like, a really surprising twist, sort of, for me.
Yeah.
I mean,
it kind of feels like nothing is held, like, no plot point is, like, held too sacred for the writer. Like,
yeah.
Normally that would be saved for, like, later in the screenplay, but he gets it out of the way quick so he can move on to the next thing.
But again, that's something that I will probably come back to as that was also sort of a weakness for me.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're right. They don't hold on to much for very long. Yeah.
Right? I don't know. We can come back to that.
Should we just get into the bad things? I feel like we have more bad things to say.
Honestly, I didn't dislike it, though.
I mean, yeah, that's the kind of the confounding thing to me is I have a lot that I want to say to critique this, but I still enjoyed it.
It's a very entertaining... I was, like, very entertained throughout. Maybe not very entertained, but I was entertained throughout.
Were you $3 million entertained?
No, but I mean, I think if I had Will Smith, like, standing next to me, or if I wrote this and had Will Smith attached...
Wait.
You're
I have
gonna
a
get more
very
money.
delicate question to ask.
Yeah.
Is Will Smith playing the orc?
No, I imagine he's playing Scott.
But because it's like a racial commentary thing, and the orcs are kind of a stand-in for, like, black people?
Yeah, none of that was all pretty facile to me. The whole, like, racial...
But you
it
see
was
what
really
I'm
on
saying?
the
Like,
nose.
are you sure that
Well, I don't think they're necessarily for black people. I think they're a stand-in for, like, a persecuted group, which oftentimes...
Yeah,
but it holds true for any minority, you know?
Yeah.
Or
so
many minorities.
So who's going to play the orc person? I don't know. It just seems like it muddles the message a little bit if you have the human partner Scott played by a black guy.
One thing that it did well was that it seemed like it was very post-racial in terms of, like, human beings.
Well, yeah, that was
like
definitely...
everyone like there was women, there were, like, female minorities. There were, like, all sorts of different ethnic groups in the police department, and they were all chill as fuck.
Right.
But when it came to the non-humans, they were like... When they came to the orcs, they were, like, downright racist from the start in every situation.
That was really fascinating and really smart, I felt like. Yeah, now that you've introduced, like, other actual different races from humans, like orcs and elves...
Yeah.
It is a matter of them versus humans, and now all the humans are unified as a group.
Yeah. Can we talk about how this is basically set in, like, the world of Lord of the Rings?
I was comparing it more to World of Warcraft, but I guess that was superficial.
Well, I mean, Tolkien's shouted out in, like, the pre-screenplay credits or whatever.
There's, like, a dedication at the beginning.
Yeah, dedication. That's what I meant to say.
Shout out, same thing.
Yeah. And there's, like, Dark Lord, and there's, like, 9 something or others, like a battle of, like, a 9 army, and
right.
I think there's like 9 people in Lord of the Rings.
But also,
there's no wands in Lord of the Rings.
But the ring, I mean, it's a clear, like, there's a clear similarity between these two hobbits stuck with a ring that's everyone wants, and it's, like, super powerful.
Yeah,
and these two dudes stuck with a wand.
Yeah, I feel like the backstory or, like, the world building is kind of reliant on our understanding of similar worlds, you know? Like, the legwork's not being done here. It's just, it flirts with Lord of the Rings, and it, like, invites us to make those comparisons.
But it also begs the question, though, for me, when I thought of that comparison, my first question was, like, why don't you just destroy this wand and just, like, solve your problem, right?
Yeah, but that doesn't mean there's not other wands, you know?
That's true. But
if Tika can use magic, why is Tika not using magic throughout?
That was another thing I wanted more of. Yeah, I wanted her to have more magic earlier on. Just, like, on a structural sort of level, I feel like if you have any kind of big developments in your story that take it in a whole new direction or bring it to a whole new level, you want to make those things happen at a really decisive moment in the story. Mm-hmm. Like, right at the end of Act 1, or, like, right at the midpoint, or right leading into Act 3. And, like, one of those things for me was the use of magic. Like, we get just a glimpse of the aftermath of that crime scene in the beginning when they find the wand. So that was perfect. Like, we see what the magic is capable of doing. But then, yeah, Tika just, like, sort of starts to use it. She, like, helps to heal them after they get injured in a fight at one point, and then she kind of helps fighting the witch. But I wanted it to be a more decisive moment when she's suddenly, like, able to use these powers.
Definitely.
And,
I think that's fair.
never really came to fruition.
No.
But we have to talk about that battle with the witch because
Go for it.
I mean, are you thinking of the same thing that is like super ridiculous to me?
What do you mean?
Okay, well they're fighting the witch
Yeah.
and she's trying to get her wand back, but like you said, she still seems like she's capable of using magic.
Yeah.
And one of them picks up a gun and just like starts unloading into her, and she stands right up again, and we're all supposed to be like, oh damn, she's tough. She can take bullets.
Yeah.
But then they just like they're in a used car lot. One of them picks up a hubcap, throws it at her face, and she's dead. Like what?
Yeah, that's funny.
How is that like her silver bullet? Is that like her one weakness?
I don't know.
Is hubcaps, used car hubcaps?
Yeah, that doesn't make too much sense. I don't know.
It made zero sense. That was so anticlimactic. Like I thought that the whole script was building to that battle, which it turns out that's not even the climax. That's more like I don't know the end.
Which goes back to just there being so many things.
Yeah. There were way too many interested parties here. That you've got like
because you have two different gangs. You have a Latino gang, and you have an orc gang.
Right, and you have the witch who's trying to get her wand back. You've got the cops that want to just use it for themselves.
And then you have a bright, like an older bright, who's like a person trained to use the wand.
She was part of some government agency that was
allegedly,
like, supposedly, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, they were just
and I think that's the frustrating part because we never know who she is or like why she's there.
Right.
Or
I think they're trying to set up a whole other movie here and like a whole franchise.
Definitely, it seems that way.
So that was just like the seed of that.
Um,
But like you said, they have all these like groups and they allude to all this like history. There was a war with the magic users, whatever.
Mhm.
But all of that still doesn't really amount to like a very well fleshed out world. Like I'm still left with a lot of questions about like, so did like all of what we know in the real world, like me reading this, the history of the world as I know it, how much of that is even in place here? Like how could you arrive at a world so similar to ours with such a like vastly
that began
different
2,000
history?
years ago with Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. How do you get from Lord of the Rings to that?
Yeah, for sure.
I don't understand that. That was kind of weird.
It almost doesn't seem like it's of interest, or they don't really.
Because it
the writer
doesn't
doesn't
jive,
care.
and they
It doesn't
know it.
jive. Yeah.
I was going to say something about how, like, you were talking about certain story elements or ideas coming up and then resolving pretty quickly, like the thing that whole flashback with the shootout where Nick lets the orc kid go. There were several things like that, which, yeah, they resolved too quickly, and it was weird. And it's I want to just make a point about this because I think a really effective tool in screenwriting to me is the plan and the payoff. You know, you set up some kind of either a mystery or something that's left unknown that you reveal later, or it could just be a callback to a joke. But the point is, it helps the script feel much more cohesive when you have all different sizes of payoffs and they're scattered at different lengths throughout the script. This one, even the really like big important like backstories for the characters, they had already gotten them out of the way by the end of like the first half of the story, basically. They try to do a thing where Scott, when he kills all these other cops, Nick doesn't understand why at first. He's just like assumes that his partner has gone crazy. Mm-hmm. He doesn't know that they were all trying to get the wand. And, you know, like 20 pages later or something, Scott just explains it to him and they get over it.
They bro hug and it's all good.
Yeah. And it seemed like a wasted opportunity. And like you should, I feel like you should carry out those tensions longer.
Yeah, but that would have been annoying because all Scott needed to do. I hate when like all a character needs to do to resolve a situation is basically just say like 3 sentences of the truth.
Well, that was like,
and he isn't given that chance to say
that. Was like what happened.
Just start shouting, man.
Yeah, that's like what happened in Batman vs Superman with that whole fight. To me,
yeah, exactly,
the same thing.
exactly.
But my point though is just that like you should have some plants and payoffs that take the whole movie to pay off. You should have others that come and go really quickly. You should have others that are somewhere in between that.
I think you should have things that seem like they could be like payoff, and then not have them resolve.
Okay,
I don't know. I just think if like everything is like an A to B thing,
yeah,
then it just feels kind of perfunctory. I guess. Like you're just setting it up to pay it off. But yeah, that's why I guess different sizes and different durations are important.
Yeah, but all of these were just really quickly paid off.
Yeah.
So it didn't feel there wasn't enough weight to it.
It was like hopscotching along
Yeah,
from one to
yeah,
the next.
exactly.
Um,
I would say like 90% of the dialogue in this script was either the word fuck or the word bro.
yeah, it was a little much.
Like the two of them, Nick and Scott, they try to build up their bromance so hard. I feel like
But
it's
in like
overdone.
the most obviously broy way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It was really annoying at times.
Yeah.
Like
There's nothing idiosyncratic about it. It's just
it really romanticizes their bromance and their like heroicness, their heroism.
Which I mean, huge shock. Will Smith's interested in a movie where he can murder himself.
They go way out of their way to be like, these two men are heroes.
Yeah.
They're so courageous and they're like they do what's right when no one else will. And
yeah, which is good to an extent, but
they just laid it on so thick.
Yeah.
One part, Scott is wounded and Nick is trying to find somebody to help him, and he's just like in the street shouting, and he's like, "This is a good man. Somebody help this man. He's a good man." And then at the very end, when the whole house blows up after Scott uses the wand, it's sort of the same thing. Like he was saying, "He's my best friend." He was just shouting that at one point. He's just like, "He's my best friend. We have to save him. He's my best friend." And then he goes in and he saves him. And oh no, this is even before that. Okay, I gotta back up. The house is on fire.
Yeah.
Scott is inside.
Yeah.
Nick is like, we have to go back for him. And that elf dude is there. And he's like, you're an elf. You can just sense it. I know that you have like super hearing or whatever, right? That's what he was saying?
Something
you
like
can
that.
You can like hear whether he's alive in there.
Yeah.
And he's like, you have to tell me. Tell me. He's dead, isn't he? And the elf's like, yeah, he's dead. And then he's like, you're lying. It's like, you just wanted him to tell you. And then it turns out he's not dead anyway.
Well, orcs are supposed to be very perceptive too, so maybe he could tell that he was lying, like in terms of reading body language.
Oh, I don't know. That's too much.
Well, what's too much is all of the, like, not even just the dialogue, but the description lines will say, "These are heroic men."
Yeah, it did actually.
Like
say
over
that.
and over and over, and I don't know, like 1 or 2 times maybe, but like 7 or 8 is a little much.
Yeah.
Like we get it. There can only be so many like huge cathartic moments of just like overwhelming heroism.
Yeah.
Before it feels forced. I was just gonna say it's kind of like the structure of it is pretty. I don't know, pretty like by the books, I guess. It's like all these people chasing one object, the characters with the object, and then it's just forced for them to come back and everyone to.
Yeah, but to me, like the most important aspect of any screenplay and the core of all its structure should be the protagonist's want, which, again, I'm trying to get more into structure stuff, but anyway, I think it's hugely important that you have a strong, tangible want for your protagonist, which should be something very concrete, just like, can he get the girl? Can he kill the bad guy? Just like a yes or no question that carries you through Act 2. And it was clear when Act 2 began in this script, because it's when they kill all those other cops and they take the wand. But I don't know what their actual goal is now. That was one problem I had. Like I was saying, if it was to destroy the wand or something, that would have been good. Like, it's very clear in Lord of the Rings. They need to get from point A to B. They need to get to Mount Doom to destroy the ring. Now that they've gone on the run, I don't know what their plan is. They never really have a goal. That was a huge problem. I think that's why it felt like it was just kind of like hopscotching around.
Their goal is just to stay alive because all these people are chasing them.
It's like a very episodic sort of story, it seems like. There'll just be scenes and sequences that come up and then resolve, and then they're on to the next. Like, there's a whole scene where they're like running down the street and they come upon a party with all these gang members, and they kind of like get kidnapped, and they're about to gang dudes are about to kill them.
They're trying to escape from one gang, and they run into a party of the other gang.
Yeah, but it's just like one thing after the next, but it doesn't amount to anything more than the sum of its parts. It's just one episode after another. Well, should we get to our verdicts?
First, I think we should remind people to check us out on our website,
Oh, of
which
course.
is ospodcast.com, and that we're on Facebook at facebook.com/ospodcast. We're on YouTube. We're on Twitter.
Can we brag about what happened on Twitter?
Yeah, this is a big deal for you.
Yeah, for me. So John Green, he's an author. He's also a big YouTube personality who I've been watching for years.
You've read his books too, right?
Yeah,
His
and
novels.
I've read several of his books. He's something of a hero of mine. Actually tweeted our podcast for reasons I don't understand.
Still unbeknownst
This
to
is a
us.
mystery. He said at OS Podcast, I was told to give you some writing advice, which his advice was just to read broadly, which he says clearly you seem to already be doing that with your podcast. I don't know who asked him to give us advice. Maybe it was in jest, like, hey, someone needs to tell these fools how to write. But anyway, he took it seriously and he gave us a very nice tweet. And like,
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. It was very, very thoughtful.
yeah, that's amazing to me. Like,
Also,
seriously,
he's from Indiana, and you're from Indiana too, right?
yeah,
So,
seriously, one of my heroes. He signed one of my copies of his books.
that's awesome.
So I don't know who told him to reach out to us, but
But thank that person,
Thank you.
thank you mostly.
to John Green.
Yeah, for sure.
That's
Um,
at OS Podcast. That's our Twitter.
Yeah, so you can tweet us too.
Yeah.
We'll even respond.
I won't be as excited, to
No,
be honest. But
probably not, but we'll be. I'll still be really excited. iTunes,
yeah,
yeah,
that's probably the best way.
and you can email us at info@ospodcast.com.
Yes.
Cool. I think that's it. Should we get to our verdicts?
Yeah, I can't believe you're blueballing people with the verdicts. Waiting.
No, I think this is.
Plugging our stuff first.
No, I think this is good.
All right. Is that the pro way to do it?
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, if we had sponsors, we wouldn't throw them in at just the end.
I guess. I guess you're right. Whatever.
They want live readings these days
Yeah.
in the
You're
middle.
right about that.
Yeah.
But what do you think overall for the writer and for the script?
I would consider both. I can see this I can see this being made. I mean, it probably will be made, but I can
Yeah.
kind of visualize it.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the social commentary stuff and like how it's mixed with the fantasy, I think that's an imperfect mixture,
Okay.
a dirty cauldron, if you will.
Is that a thing anyone
No,
says?
I just wanted to. I thought when I was driving over here,
I
I
get
thought
it.
of the
It's
word.
fantasy
I
like.
thought of
thing.
because of the witch, witches
Yeah,
have cauldrons.
yeah.
And I just wanted to say the word cauldron, and I missed an
No,
opportunity to use it
It was
before.
good. You did it.
But like it's pretty on the nose, and some of the parallels to like the real world feel really forced.
Yeah.
But I think the story is pretty solid,
Yeah, but like based on the first
like
half,
in terms of being entertaining.
yeah, like based on the first half of this, like I was saying, I really liked the first half. I was prepared to recommend one or the other. I guess I would probably recommend the script because I don't really know who did what in this. If it was Max Landis' original vision or how much.
From
David
what I've
Ayer-
read, they're pretty similar, but
Yeah, but yeah, I was prepared to recommend the script because I felt like, oh, this is a really novel idea, and it's mixed really well. But like, yeah, in the end, it didn't quite deliver. But yeah, I think for me, it's still a consider on both.
yeah. I feel like you're getting a little more generous with your grades. Or maybe there was a stretch where you were passing on everything.
Yeah, I don't know. I would like to think I've been consistent in my assessment. Maybe I.
Well, I feel like
Genuine.
I feel like it's just that sort of subtle shading is inevitable. And it's true of me too, probably.
Wait, what do you mean?
Like as we read more of them, maybe I'm becoming more generous.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Well, are we done here?
yeah, we're done. And let's talk about what we're gonna read next time.
Yeah. So next week we're gonna read a script from the 2011 Blacklist. Actually, there was some interest on Reddit for this one, and some people that said it was really good. It's called "When the Streetlights Go On" by Chris Hutton and Eddie O'Keefe. In the early 1980s, a town suffers through the aftermath of a brutal murder of a high school girl and a teacher.
Cool. Also, people should review us on iTunes if they're so inclined, because that'd be great
Yeah,
to get some more iTunes reviews.
yeah, that'll take us to the next level. I feel like.
It actually would, and some likes on Facebook. Those two things.
Do likes count for that much?
They matter to me.
Okay.
They matter a lot to
Do it.
me.
Do it for Steven.
Yeah.